Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. It's Friday, the sun is shining, and we are just 2 days away from the final game of the season. This Sunday, Bank Holiday Sunday, against Everton, 4 o'clock kickoff, where we are praying to get Champions League football for next season. And I will be there, so if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do so. I'm hoping to have something a little bit special planned for the game this Sunday. So if you're not subscribed, hit the button. Do not miss out. Hoping to be partying late into the night, celebrating, Champions League football. But we've got loads to get into today. Obviously, we've got the game on Sunday. News on the new stadium. Newcastle have this morning confirmed the home kit for next season, as well as a few transfer rumours as well. So, as I say, I am on early today. Eddie Howe has not done his press conference yet, but the big thing I'm waiting to hear on is Alexander Isak. The reports are that he has 50-50 chance to be available against Everton this weekend. We missed him against Arsenal massively. And if I'm honest, I don't think Eddie Howe's going to tell us. I think the earliest we will hear about Alexander Isak will be whether he's on the team sheet or not. Because if he is fit, Eddie Howe's not going to want to give the game away. But look, it's going to be big. It's going to be a big atmosphere. And I'm hoping we'll get the job done. And could we be wearing our new home kit on Sunday as well? Because this is something that Newcastle used to do years ago. It's basically a way of promoting the kit before you even get into the summer. It kind of stopped through the Ashley era with different providers. I think not being ready, too slow. I mean, that's the thing. What I will say about Castore is that some of their designs were all right, but the quality, having stuff available, was just not. And that's one thing we want Adidas to fix. And as of this morning, they have confirmed the new kit. Now I'm going to do a bit of a cheat here. Instead of editing this video, because I'm not going to have time, I'm just going to show you on screen instead. So here you go. It is the kit that many people have seen online. The kind of merged lines, the blue strip around the outside. Here is a photo of Joe Linton wearing it. He's looking happy. And hopefully he'll be looking happy that's another player, Joe Linton. Could he be available this Sunday again? I don't think Eddie Howe will tell us, but reports are that he's getting injections and all sorts to try and be available for that game, which would be a huge boost. Imagine looking at the team sheet and seeing Botman, Joe Linton and Isak all in the side for the first time together this season. Nah, that can't be true. But it certainly hasn't happened enough as we would all like. So to see that would be fantastic. Could we be wearing the new kit? Let me know your thoughts on the new kit down in the comments below. There's a few of the women's team wearing it there as well. Undecided. I don't know that I'm a massive fan of the collar, if I'm perfectly honest. And I'm still a little bit mixed feelings on the kind of merged black and white lines. But what I do like is the big 3 white stripes down the shoulder. And I also quite like the little blue outline. I think it makes it look a little bit different. So yeah, I think it's possible, I think it's strange for them to announce it 2 days before the last game of the season if we aren't planning on wearing it on Sunday. Could it even be in the shops? I mean, that's a way to get your head start on your numbers, isn't it? Having it in the shop before we even play the last game. So yeah, thoughts and comments on the strip down below. Let's get into what has been said on the new, postponed stadium plans. So I think it was even Darren Eales, wasn't it, who said that they hope to have an announcement. It was early 2025. It was like the end of last year or coming into the new year that we expected to hear more on Newcastle United Stadium, and it hasn't really happened. All to do with the feasibility study and everything else, and it's been highly reported that the move to Leazes Park, the new Leazes Park Stadium appears to be what Newcastle are going ahead with. It's reported so far that the only person we're waiting to see it is Newcastle United themselves. But the reports are that Newcastle have actually postponed the announcement of this new stadium, and that the hope was to kind of be announcing it March, April time, but now we could well be waiting for the summer, and it's all down to permissions basically. We saw Manchester United announce their new, Clown Circus Stadium not too long ago, and I think Newcastle United probably looked at that and went, we got started on this before they did. They've already announced it. What's taken so long? And I think the view of that is from some fans as well. But, and I speak for myself here, what we want is for it to be in the centre of Newcastle. And that is never going to be quick. There isn't any room to do it. So we all knew... I would rather wait as long as it takes to get the stadium where we want it, how we want it, than rush it and go, oh, well, we're going to have to do it out in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere because it's the only place we can get permission to do it. The reports basically are that Newcastle want to make sure they have the lease of Leazes Park secured before they announce anything. Which I think, I find it somewhat funny as well that had to be kind of reported. I suppose it's just the reasoning, isn't it? It's the reason as to why nothing has been announced of yet. Lots of fans asking questions. That appears to be the reason, but it's just standard. It's just normal, isn't it? Why would we release a video confirming a brand new Leazes Park Stadium for the council to turn around and go, oh, well, we never agreed with this? Probably lose a bit of bargaining power as well. If the council presumably are going to charge us a lot of money for this lease or however we're going to do it, if we've already announced it, they'll be like, well, you better pay us because otherwise you look like a dafty. So, that's the rumour of why it's taken so long. The number of seats discussed is still 65,000, which, I still think is below what it should be. I think we should be looking at least 70,000, unless, it's being built with the idea, like similar to what Man City did. Obviously, Man City put a new stadium in. I don't think they need any new seats, to be honest, but they're doing it anyway. The ability to add an extra stand on top, build how you want it to go, and then add on or have the ability to add on. But the amount of times it's going to take to build it, by the time we'll get actually into this new stadium, the whole place could be, still competing for trophies as we won our first in many years this season, potentially competing for Premier League, hopefully being more regulars of the Champions League. So what, we're going to spend 5 years building it and go, you know what, maybe we should have just put the extra 10,000 on before we got started. So that's still a sticking point for me. And reports are about what the stadium's going to look like as well. Obviously, atmosphere is talked about a lot. I mean, that's been reported in the last few days as well. I think, and I was watching Matty from the Magpie channel talk about this, atmosphere is fans. It is Newcastle United. I think West Ham get beaten with this stick over and over again of how poor their stadium's worked out and how, I think for away fans especially, atmosphere is dreadful in the London Stadium. We aren't going to have that. We aren't going to have running tracks around the middle. It's hopefully not going to be that like shallow bowl. I think what Everton have done is they've made it really steep, so it keeps the fans like on the pitch. The only thing with the Everton stadium is it just looks like they've literally unpacked it out of an IKEA box. I want our stadium to have personality. I want it to be... And I think if it's in Leazes Park, it'll gain personality because it'll be in a city centre area with the pond, with the park. It will have personality from that. I just don't want it to be a carbon copy out of the box bowl. I want it to be something special to us. I was going to just start listing off random things there of what it could be, but I'm not going to do it because it'll probably all sound silly. But just have something that's ours, not just a carbon copy of other things, and then we will bring the atmosphere there. Don't worry about the atmosphere. We've got that handled. If you do the stadium right, we will bring the atmosphere. So let me know your thoughts and comments on the delay or the postponement of the announcement of Newcastle United's new stadium and the 65,000 seats as well. Are you happy to wait if it's going to be where we want it to be? I presume so. Thoughts and comments on that. And then a few bits on transfers as well. Obviously, no Isak at the weekend. Wilson may as well have not bothered turning up. And Sula was nowhere near getting a game. So the striker situation at Newcastle still baffles me. It was great to see Sula come on at the end of the Arsenal game. I thought he made one of the best runs of the game down the right-hand side. A few step overs, lashed it across the goal. I'd rather him running around like a tyrant than having Wilson so uninvolved. But undoubtedly, we need to do something about that striker situation this season. Asula, Reports are, I mean, the thing is, people say, oh, he's not a spring chicken. In fact, he's only 21. He's still only a kid, really, or he's still very young in his career. People say, no, I think they're going to give him one more year. Well, I damn well hope so. I mean, he's not had any chance this year. I think it only makes sense that he has a second year, learning behind Isaac, learning behind Bruno, and the hope is it's going to be, I've seen people comment saying, it's going to be a Lewis Hall. He's going to come back and be better next season. I hope so. I hope you're right. Because he seems like a canny lad. He's got his hands on a cup medal, so he's done well for himself so far since joining Newcastle. I'd love for him to be more involved. But having said that, even with Asula playing more of a part next season, with Isak's, seeming continuous groin injuries, or just the hope if we get Champions League football, Isak isn't going to contend with that many games, and that's why the likes of Liam Delap is being spoken about again. Reports are that Newcastle are in talks with the player. I think any player with a £30 million release clause and having just scored 12 goals in the Premier League will probably be in talks with 17 Premier League teams. I think lots of teams will be interested. It's just the money and the wages. Interestingly, Eddie Howe said in his last press conference that Newcastle need to up their wages. Was that linked? Probably not. But it will be very interesting to see what falls of that Delap situation. And the other midfielder linked is Rodoni from Coventry. 23 years old midfielder, got 13 assists, 10 goals for the Championship side this season, who did not make it to promotion, obviously beaten by Sunderland. Will that keep his price down? That would be nice. But what I thought was more interesting about our links with him was that it said that our move for him could be dependent on Longstaff leaving. Now, Eddie Howe has spoken about midfielders in press conferences already in the last few weeks, saying, that midfield is a very, very strong position for us, as if to say we wouldn't go for players there. But I think it's key with hopefully Europe. Well, it will be European football, so whether it's Champions League or not, with the European football, with the FA Cup, the League Cup, with the Premier League, it's key that we have plenty of players in that position. And if Longstaff was to leave for Leeds, which I won't believe it till I see it happening, but I think Eddie Howe's been quite honest with, it's up to Longstaff what he wants to do this summer. It wasn't Eddie Howe's usual, he's great in training and he works really hard. I think he does all those things, and generally I like Longstaff. He's a Geordie lad, living the dream, winning cups. But he isn't getting a lot of game time, and maybe it is time for him to move. And if he was to, bringing in a replacement who maybe has a bit more attacking flair. I think Bruno unlocks stuff. Tonali's a workhorse. Both of them can play attacking. I think our attacking player is probably Joe Willock, and he isn't really getting a lot of game time because of his injury issues as well. So bringing in a player that maybe we don't get it's not how we play, really, but we don't necessarily get that kind of late arrival box player with 10 goals a season. That isn't really the game of any of our centre midfielders. So maybe that kind of player added to a mix among others could be just what we need. So yeah, thoughts are loads going on there. I've probably talked for longer than I planned, but I had to because there was so much to say. Thoughts and comments on the game this weekend, the stadium, the strips, and some of these new transfer links. I'm going to get off. Thanks for watching, guys. As I say, subscribe to the video if you haven't already. Hopefully it will be a very special one this Sunday, and a special one for the fans, special one for me and you, special video to go with it. So don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.